Well, welcome to Free Frame, our first episode, where two of us, amazing coaches, have two insightful, thought provoking conversations coming together, engaging in a discussion about a topic. We're going to choose a wide range of topics with, kind of an unrestricted perspective and just see where this goes. I want to encourage you as you watch this to give us a thumbs up, a hearts, or comment, engage in this, tag people that you believe could maybe use listening to the message that we speak about today. Whatever you feel compelled to do, we would appreciate your support in this. So if we haven't met, I am Katherine Hood. I am a happiness coach. I work with individuals in small groups on defining what happiness is for them, but I also walk alongside you to achieve it. I want to hand over the mic to Ian. Ian, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, so my name is Ian Gregoire. I'm a coach and consultant. I help professionals, entrepreneurs, leaders, founders streamline life and business so they can do more of what they love. And today, we're going to be talking about the expectations of ourselves. And it's a topic that's been top of mind for me personally, and also with the people that I work with and serve. And I think it's an appropriate time to dive into that at the end of January 2024, as we are working our way through yet another year. And it's inevitable, right? Another year is coming, and another month is coming, another week is coming, another day is coming, and we're going to rise to the level of our expectations of ourselves. And I think sometimes a lot of people set the bar too low or way too high. And I'm really into this idea of Goldilocks goals. And so it goes right along with that flow state and having appropriate expectations for ourselves and for other people. And I just think it's an interesting way to start off our conversation, just like going deep real quick and talking about expectations for ourselves and expectations for our listeners right now. And so as everyone's engaging in this conversation, or at least listening to it, I get into this idea of, okay, expectations, let's back up. What are my current commitments? And whenever I'm working with a group or one-on-one, or even with myself, I'm like, okay, what is the status of my current commitments, our current commitments, your current commitments? And so that is where I start my work with folks. And that's where the conversation, it goes to the tip of the spear again, in that, okay, here we are again. It's another year, month, week, day, moment. What is the status of my current commitments? And my commitment is to be here for Katherine, to be here for the listeners, and to dive deep into this subject as Katherine and I free frame it.
Yeah. Love it. So interesting. What we're planning on doing is, Ian's picking the topic this week. I'm going to pick the topic next week. And the word expectations, I don't want to say that there's a negative connotation to it, but it can, right? I have this saying and quote that I use a lot: expectations lead to disappointment. But what I love about what you just said is, what are my commitments right now before I determine what it is I'm expecting of myself? So I love that twist on it. And it just always goes to show that there's always a different perspective in how we look at words and what they mean. But you're right. When you look at if you're wanting to set a new goal, if you're wanting to raise the bar a little bit higher and stretch yourself and go outside of the comfort zone and improve on yourself in some way, doesn't matter which area of your life, it's like, really, is this realistic? What are my commitments? What is my energy right now? Do I have room and space in my daily routine to add this new expectation of myself, this new goal, this new whatever? Do I have the energy, the time, and the space to commit to it?
Totally. And that's the right question to ask. That is the right question to ask. And so, like, one way I want to use this is like invite people to right now, like, write down this question and journal about it, think about it, meditate on it, voice record on it. What is the status of my current commitments? And taking some time and doing that is, if you don't already do it, is one of the most valuable things that a person can do. Anybody is to evaluate, okay, what is my reality? These are other ways to look at it. What is my reality? Where am I at right now? Of the things that I said I was going to do last year, last month, last week, yesterday, where am I at with the stuff that I've already committed to? And do I need to uncommit to some things? Do I need to recommit to some things? Do I need to ask for some help from somebody else? Like yesterday, I had a little plumbing situation, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do about this? And I called the professionals and was like, here, y'all handle this. This is what you guys do. And so I had the professionals handle it instead of me mucking around trying to figure it out and run the store and figure out how to be a plumber. Instead, I worked on my business. And so I effectively delegated some of that plumbing stuff. It cost money, but I feel good about doing that. And so, I work with a lot of frameworks. In fact, like, I put them together in a book called The Fulfilled Life Handbook. And what this contains is frameworks for confronting challenges and creating what you want. And one of my favorite frameworks, whether it's written or mental, to use or think about is the Eisenhower matrix, which many people are familiar with. It's like do, delegate, plan, schedule, or eliminate, or urgent and important, just urgent, just important, or neither. And I think it's a really effective way to start to think about how I can deal with overwhelm, which is probably what a lot of people are thinking about when they're thinking about their commitments. They're like, okay, my commitments, oh, dang, I am overwhelmed with all the stuff I think I need to do or should do or want to do or need to do or have to do. And so if you can start to think about do, delegate, plan, schedule, eliminate with the Eisenhower matrix framework, whether mentally or writing it down, that's a great way to work through commitments. I've seen single mothers like completely dig themselves out of just really difficult situations. I've also seen CEOs use the Eisenhower matrix to revamp their organizations and refocus on what they need to do. And so that's one of my favorite tools to utilize when, okay, commitments, overwhelm, Eisenhower matrix. What are your thoughts, Katherine?
Yeah, I love that matrix. I think it is a great framework to really identify what's important. And some of what I notice whenever a client comes to me and is like, oh, I want to start this, I want to add this, I want to do this, I want to do that. I really talk to them about, what's the cost, right? And you kind of tapped into that with your own personal experience. And the plumbing story is like, it's always time or money. It's really all it is. And I believe that money is energy. So it's an exchange of time, right? So, it's really a choice. And what is the cost of adding this new thing into your life, this new process, this new habit, this new thing that you're going to do on a daily basis and make it part of your identity? What's the cost? There's always a cost, unless you're willing to trim back the hedges and remove, like you talked about, a commitment out of your life that makes room and space for this new branch to grow. So I talk a lot of metaphors and I use a lot of photo coaching if I'm in person and coaching people, but really helping them become really clear. I have a lot of clients that have a restless energy about them where they're always excited and chasing after a new thing, a new shiny object. This thing is exciting and thrilling, but we have to dial it back. And kind of like what you pointed to is really identifying what is really important to you and really being clear on your values, your purpose, and your meaning. I know new things, me too. I have a tendency to have a little bit of restless energy too. But, what is it at the end of your life that's going to matter most? What is your values? What is your purpose? What is your meaning in this life? And really knowing who you are and what is of utmost importance, because that new shiny thing, it's not going to be shiny after a few weeks. It's no longer going to be new. And have you gone deep enough in the last commitments or the last goals or expectations that you placed on yourself where you can have proof? And you kind of alluded to this, having proof and evidence that you do follow through with the things that you've committed to in the past. Do you have, does your brain and your mind have all this data and proof that you follow through with the things that you start, right? Or take them to a point at least where you learn something. You may not have got to the finish line, and that's okay, but did you learn something from it? Did you meet new people? Did you, whatever, have you got something from it in a way that's, a gold or value or a learning lesson, and you're able to move forward with it and ready to bring something else new in your life? I think that's what life's about, right? Trying new things, experimenting. And the scenario that I always bring up a lot with my clients is you can start a new hobby or new interest or find purpose or meaning in your life and go into it in a way that has infinite number of depths to it. And I think that that's what's really fun and exciting. The example I use is cake making. Like, if you really have all things going on really well in your life and you're like, oh, I really want to start a new hobby, a new interest, meet new people, do new things, and I want to learn how to make cakes. You can truthfully learn how to make a box cake, right? Go get a box cake, do that, check that box and be done. Or you can go so deep to become like this master chef and make cakes that look like real objects. Like you won't be able to tell a real purse from the cake. I think it's fascinating that there's so much to learn and discover in this world that I get kind of excited and like, well, what do I want to do next? So I think that this is seeing life is exciting, and jumping out of bed every day and thinking, what can I learn today? What can I explore? Who can I meet? And making sure that is in alignment with your values, your goals, your purpose, your meaning. What's going to matter most at the end of your life?
I love all of that. A couple thoughts that come to mind are this idea that nature fills a vacuum. And if a person is committing or recommitting to something, they're probably going to have to remove something. And as they remove that thing, other things will fall in, and those things can be conscious or unconscious. And I believe oftentimes, if we're not consciously putting something in that space, then something unconscious, as like an example is like quitting smoking, and then a person is overeating. And
Yeah.
so if you can like consciously put in some rest or some meditation or prayer as opposed to overeating, that's an even more positive habit than overeating, as opposed to when you're quitting smoking. Does that make sense? Kind of jumbled it, but
No, that's a great example. Another example that I see happen quite frequently, because I do a lot of relationship coaching, is someone will get a new interest or a new job or a new hobby or whatever, and the cost is time with their family, time with their loved ones. They rob from the wrong thing, right? And you and I talked about this before we hit record, is how do you set expectations of yourself but also maintain a balance in your life, preventing that burnout, preventing overwhelm, but keeping your balance in your life, making sure that all the areas of your life that are important, that are in alignment with your values or goals or purpose, are still being maintained, because you only have so much battery per day, right? I always look at per day. Like anybody that comes to me is like, Katherine, I want to create a new goal. I want this big audacious goal. It's 1 year, 2 year, 10 years out. I'm like, okay, how are you going to fit that in your daily practice? Like, they're like, what? And I'm like, well, that big goal is amazing and incredible. I'm going to be here cheering you on, but where does that fit in your daily practice? It has to be a daily practice. And just moving forward, at least 1%, James Spear analogy, or how he works with things. But I think that that's so true. Even if it's just spending 5-10 minutes thinking and dreaming about that goal a day, but what are you going to do every day that you can do on your worst day, a day that you're absolutely sick, you're in bed, you don't feel well, but you can still do that 5 minutes? What is it? But what is the cost? If the only way to get away from the cost is something else has to be removed off your plate to put that new thing on your plate. That's what my mind goes to.
yeah, a couple things come up in my mind as we free frame this. Is I totally agree with you on the daily thing. Like, it's only going to get there if you work on it most days, pretty much every day. And as a solopreneur myself and wanting to be in shape and all the things, I was like, okay, how can I remember the good ideas I had to follow through on them in order to actually do them, right? Because as a solopreneur, we've got to be marketing, we've got to be working on projects, and we also have to take care of ourselves. And I don't know about you, but nobody's really watching my back and, like making sure I do every little thing. And so I was drawing lines in several notebooks and just kind of like making it happen, but I was tired of drawing lines in notebooks. And so what I ended up doing was essentially creating like an Excel spreadsheet on paper, because I want to take some breaks and some time away from the phone and the screens, right? And go back to a little paper. So I created an Excel spreadsheet on a piece of paper and started tracking and putting in my work activities as well as my workouts, my morning routine, my evening routine, just so I was like, okay, stop scrolling. Like, what do I need to be doing? And it's really been helpful for me personally, just keeping my physical health and my business health on track. And I was like, you know what? This is actually useful for me. And if it's useful for me, I bet it's going to be useful for other people. And so I was like, okay, well, an Excel spreadsheet on paper isn't that interesting. So I'm going to pair it with a calendar. And what I've done is I've distributed that to my current clients. So they have a calendar and physical habit stacker for every day of the year where they can track anything that they want to track every single day. And we're just into the first month of using it with my clients, and they're digging it. And so I love to create things that can be useful and sustainable over time, right? And so going into 2025, like make a few tweaks based on what happens this year with it. And ideally, this sort of thing can be useful for at least for me and hopefully for other people, for the rest of our lives. And so I totally agree with you on the daily practice. And the other thought that came up in that discussion was, what's the cost? And then what's the benefit? Like, it's like, is that certain project that you're going for, is it going to provide, or that activity that you're going for, is that going to provide the benefit in alignment with your goals and values? And so, both sides of that coin, what's the cost, what's the benefit, and aligning as many actions as possible without being like too freaky about the whole thing, in alignment with our end goals. And so what I see in society is like people are pulled every which way, every different direction. I'd say more now than perhaps any other time in history collectively for most people, especially compared to, let's say, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation, where there was more coaching done just in society as people interacted normally. Whereas now people are drawn every which direction. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what to do. They don't know what choice to make. They don't know which direction to go. And I don't know, for people out there interested in getting coached or being a coach, I think for the right people, there's a great need and a great runway for either getting served with a coach or becoming a coach. So those are my thoughts on all of that. What do you think, Katherine? What comes up in your mind?
Well, I love where this conversation is going because, I get coaching myself every Thursday, and without it, well, first off, the reason why I get coaching every week is to continue to grow and evolve and stretch myself. So I know that I'm providing greater value to my clients. I have a lot of clients that have been with me for years. And so I value those relationships and those connections and want to continue to grow and evolve and learn more for them, but also myself, the whole process of, being able to leave your comfort zone and see and have someone point out the spinach in your teeth is a saying I always say, because sometimes we just don't know our blind spots. We need someone to point out our language, and how we're saying things and what we're thinking, and our patterns are really destructive or taking us off course. And, I even posted on social media, the difference between, what is the difference between being busy versus productive? You might think that you are in action and you might think that you're getting a lot done. You feel like you're being really busy, but are you really, kind of back to this whole topic of, are you really going closer to your goals, or are you just spinning your wheels? And that's where a good coach can point it out and say, you say you want X, Y, and Z, but do you realize you're doing X, Y, and or A, B, and C? You're not doing what you told me you were going to do. So what's holding it up? And it's really your thoughts. Your thoughts are, you're sabotaging yourself, your mind, your saboteurs, whatever you want to call it, are stopping you in your tracks. And I, really work really deep with my clients about how emotion beats logic every single time. So emotion is, oh, it feels really good to go on TikTok and scroll, or Facebook, or wherever, it feels so good to do that. And, 45 minutes goes by and then you're like, oh, I didn't work out today. Well, here's what I do. I stack things, so if there's a Netflix show or a TikTok or something that, that I want to go and get caught up on, or a podcast or something like that, I go walk on the treadmill while I do it. So a lot of times I'll stack things in a way that I'm doing, feeling like I'm moving my body and doing those things that are really close in alignment to my values, my principles and morals. Is, I'm doing it, but also, catching up on my, little fun time of watching whatever it is, scrolling or whatever. But, it's just really important to, look at your day, maximize your day in a way that you feel good and proud at the end of the day. I think that's what really stands out for me. Love big goals, but really it's about what can you do on a daily basis? What is realistic? And having a coach being, really questioning you that on, and pointing that out. Do you really have the time in the space? And what are you going to take off of your plate? What is the cost of doing this? And you're right, the benefits. I'm very much about sticking to what's positive and motivating, but there's also, we have to have a conversation and get really, roll up our sleeves and see, what is the cost of doing this? What gives? Because you just only have so much energy in a day. I can't tell you how many clients that I first start working with that, come to me with a laundry list of 25 things that they want to do and achieve and work on and blah, blah, blah. And they want to start all of them at once. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not sustainable. And I prove it to them by saying, all right, let's go line by line. How many minutes a day does this logically need to consume of your energy? And I've had a client before, after we went through the whole list, it was like 25 hours, it was like almost everything had 15 minutes to 2 hours invested in each one of them if they were going to do it on a daily basis. And it was just like a big smack in the face. It was like, oh, I'm like, okay, let's work on one thing at a time. Once we make that part of your habit, you're on autopilot and you naturally do it every day, then we can add something else. And that varies from person to person. It also varies on how important it is to you on that scale. Some habits you can pick up right away and really quickly because maybe there's muscle memory, you've done it before. So many different variables, but when you have a coach that holds you accountable and works with you and shows you your blind spots, helps you navigate what's stopping you, sabotaging you, and allows you to power through that and cope and navigate those things really quickly, it really transforms your life. You will achieve those goals, those aspirations or expectations is what we've talked about today, in a way that you're really proud of it and you nail it and then move on to the next thing or whatever.
Yeah. The one idea I have to add as we kind of wrap things up is this idea in my own personal experience and the experience of my clients' lives of downtime. Taking some recharge time. And as much as we all apparently love to scroll, like I imagine like even like certain spiritual masters are into like scrolling at this point. Like it's just essential. But like taking some time and consciously recharging and doing something to renovate the body to be ready to go for the next day. And I love what you said about looking at things at one day at a time. And we always talk about it, but like to actually look at the things we're going to do one day at a time and to consciously include recharge time in there, especially for myself and the people that I work with who are generally, working 10, 12-hour days in their businesses. And so I just want to add that as a valuable thing, because sometimes people see it as, well, it's not work. I'm not getting anything done. It's like, yeah, but you're not happy, and you're not in shape, and you're not where you want to be. And so taking some of that recharge time will help you really get to where you want to be, which I think we should all be expecting to go the direction where we want to be. So it's a kind of funny way to say, like, do the recharge, meditation, dance, hobby, whatever recharges a person, like figure out what that is and build that into your daily habits.
So I want to put out to the audience, how do you recharge? Put that in the comments. Let us know how you recharge. And Ian, I'd love to know what it is that a couple of examples that you use or your go-tos. For me, it's nature, anything nature, really being outside, even if it's just like for a few minutes, stepping outside and, depending on the time of year, putting my feet directly on the ground, or sometimes like right now, I just go out with my dog, let him go use the restroom, but just really being out there without any technology and just really engaging all my senses, listening to noises near and far and feeling the cool breeze and, just feeling whatever, just really engaging any and all senses that I can to really be fully present. And it's like NASCAR. You can't just go to NASCAR and go around and around and around and around without changing your tires. You've really, really got to learn how to quickly recharge in a way that's, just takes a few minutes, Working out is my other good go-to. I'll just either walk to the stop sign or back, or jump on my treadmill and just do 15 minutes, 10 minutes, maybe even 5 minutes. All of it counts. And I'm always like celebrating my own head and being proud of what I do. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you do to recharge. But what do you do, Ian?
Yeah, a lot of those same things you mentioned, nature, exercise, obviously sleep, stretching. Even if it's just for 5 minutes. I know David Goggins has like a 2-hour stretching routine. I think that's awesome and great. But like, I just 5 minutes can really benefit me. A little bit of mobility in the morning, like a little bit of just qigong or whatever, some walking first thing in the morning. A little bit of like singing, a little chakra singing, or just a little bit of meditation in the evening, even just like lying down with my knees propped up and just consciously breathing have been really useful for me to just like calm the nervous system, and transition, because both in my current business and in past jobs and professions, I've noticed that transitions tend to be difficult. And whether those transitions are seasonal, or from day to night, or hot to cold, transitions can be challenging for people of all ages. And so like finding ways to recharge in those transitions, or be at least careful in those transitions, has been a key to my own success, my business success, and the success of my clients.
One more thing that I want to add is anytime I feel a sense of triggered or anxiety or nervousness or stress of any kind, shape, or form, I have a little space where I do deadlifts, because I do believe if you look at any animals, when they become stressed or alert or scared in any shape, form, or fashion, you'll watch them shake it off. And I believe that as humans don't do that. We just keep grinding, we keep pressing forward, we keep going, and we don't reset, like you talked about, the nervous system and the brain and the mind. And so for me, I just go out there and I just exert myself in these deadlifts or whatever. I do something that processes that cortisol, gets it out, gets it done, gets it over with, reassure my brain, my nervous system that I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm here, and again, activating any one of the 5 senses or more of them for sure. But we are out of time. Call to action, how to reach us. For me, you can text me at 509-800-7264. I feel like that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. But just text me, ask me questions. what it would be like to work with me, or whatever thoughts you have. How about you, Ian?
Yeah, the best way is to contact me through text as well, 509-386-7782. You can also find me on Facebook, Ian Gregoire, IANGREGOIRE. I'm based in Walla Walla, Washington.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to next week, and this was great. So, first of many.
Yay, thank you so much, Catherine.
Awesome. Thank you.